All right. So let me look at my options here. I can create a highlight. So I do want that. Top fans. Okay.
You guys have to check this out. So you can basically.
I turned ads on for this one too.
You turned them on?
Well, I turned on monetization. Yeah, I've not had monetization on any of my streams. Top fans. So are you logged in under me?
I am.
Okay. So change this to live chat. Okay. Hey, Willie, how's it going? We are just getting everything set up, guys. Bear with us for just a minute. We're taking care of some back end stuff. So just hang out for a bit. Yep, testing. I see it and it's yellow. That's good. We're trying out some new stuff on this stream. Hopefully we'll be able to share more links and things that actually work instead of the stuff that we've had going on. Gareth, what's going on, my friend? Porter, happy to see you here. Jay is in the house. What's up, my dude? So that looks like it worked over here, but if anybody wants to try real quick to check and see if y'all can click on the website link to see if that works, that would be amazing. Kimberly is in the house. What's going on? Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're just getting the housekeeping out of the way. Oh, Gareth is hungover. Well, you know,
Nada.
Willie says nada. I don't know what's going on with these links, man. It should be clickable. I have everything turned on that should make it clickable, but it's not clickable. Patrick says hey and hello and saying thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Patrick. Everybody just hang out with us for a minute. We're going to get this going. I'm going to grab my coffee in just a second. We're going to get this thing started, get it kicked off. So just hang out. Yeah. It's not working. I don't know why it's not working. I've literally gone through the settings and turned on everything that needs to be turned on for it to work. All right.
Shows up white instead of the hyperlink color. What is that? No worky. I mean.
Oh, well, I mean, it's pretty easy to remember. So, you know, I think it'll be all right. Okay. Getting the coffee. Coming.
See, Reef Rookies, that's me today.
Yeah. So Sandy is logged in under Reef Rookies. So anytime we have to put anything out important, you will see the Reef Rookies name pop up right down there. So that's pretty cool. How's everybody doing? Gareth is hungover. So that's a good start already. And let's see. Dynasty Wood Products says, thank you for teaching us reefing. Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad that you are grateful that I'm doing this thing. And honestly, thank you all so much for being here. Willie, yes, it is definitely the name of the channel. Happy Sunday, Hal. Nice to see you too. So how is everybody's tanks going? Is everything good? Is anything crazy happening? You doing tank maintenance? You get it all done already? What's going on? Willie's working on the hang. Oh, it was Willie that was hungover, not Gareth. Yeah. The RR website link is working from the home page. Well, that's a start. So we could just tell people to go to the home page and check the website that way if they want to. But preferably, everybody would stay in the stream until the end and then go check out the website. That would be amazing. So anyway, not much has changed here recently with my tanks. We have been incredible. I did not take my medicine this morning.
Okay.
I forgot. But yeah. Yeah, we have been incredibly busy this week. We've had several things go awry, like an entire oak treetop fell into the yard that had to get cleaned up. And so I did that and got the yard cleaned up and stuff, but nothing new with the tanks. Just still trying to get the phosphate down from 2 weeks ago when it spiked to over 1 ppm. It's still kind of hanging around 0.25 and the nitrates are coming up a little bit. But so far, the only thing that's really still upset is my King Kong mushrooms. Everything else seems to be okay. So, yeah, it's just, it's one of those things. That's reefing, man. Gareth wants to know my thoughts on natural seawater. So if you're getting it from a company that gets the natural seawater from like out in the blue water, out in the clean blue water, then that's cool. I'm fine with that. If you're going out to blue water and harvesting it yourself, I'm also fine with that. I don't recommend that anybody use natural seawater up near the coast because that's where the ocean pushes all the trash. And so that's why the beaches get foamy sometimes, just like a protein skimmer. And in fact, that action on the beach, smashing against the shore, creating that foam, is what gave the very first people who ever started trying to design a skimmer the idea for that product. So it's pretty interesting. If you go down that whole rabbit hole, there's a thing. You know, you can find all that information about the very first foam fractionators that were used or created and used in the hobby. Natural seawater is fine. Typically, the parameters are a little bit low as far as elements. Wow, I said that weird. As far as like elements and nutrients are concerned, as we would prefer them to be in reef keeping. So a lot of people who use natural seawater find out they end up having to dose calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity to bring those up to where they need to be. But otherwise, I mean, it's perfectly fine. The salinity is always spot on, of course. So, I mean, if you have access to it and that's what you want to use, I know over in the UK, and maybe in other parts of Europe too, there are places like fish stores and stuff, and they have boats that go out and get big, you know, thousands of gallons and stuff, and they bring it back and then they sell the natural seawater. So it's definitely not a bad thing. You just want to make sure your parameters are where they're supposed to be. Yeah, you got to go out, like Willie said, like 5, 7, something like 10 miles out off the coast to get into. And when I say blue water, what I mean is clean water. You know, but that's pretty much it. Did you share the link?
I did.
Okay, cool. Shared the link in the group. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. I prefer mixing my own, you know, but that's just me. It's the way that I've done it. And we don't really have awesome access to good, clean, natural salt water here where I live. So it's not really something that I've ever used, but it definitely works well for some people. All right, let's check it out. Everything looks like it's running good. Cool. A depth of like 150 feet. Got you. Cool. Good to know. There was something I wanted to tell you guys about, but I don't remember exactly what it is. ESV salt rocks. Yes, ESV is very good salt. And there's even one of the ESV that you can get where the salt comes as a 4-part, and you basically mix it to your own specifications, and you can set your calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity exactly where you want it. It's really nice. So it's probably one of the best ones in the market. I know that's Polo Reef uses a version of that is dialed in and specifically made for his tank. They mix it up for him and everything. And that's what he used. James Nicholson says, I saw your video on uranema. You said that it doesn't go away without sterilizing. If we bring home a frag from a store that brought in corals that had it, how do we keep it out of our display? By dipping corals. That's the best way. You can dip corals in one of the many coral dips that are available on the market. Bubble bath or the bubble bath is an actual reef keeping product. Oops, sorry, I smashed the. I'll just use this. I smashed the thing. But bubble bath is a reef keeping product. I don't mean just any generic bubble bath. Sorry, I had to walk away for a second. But Coral RX, Revive, I mean, there's a ton of them. Any of the coral dips, you just take your pick and dip the coral properly. Preferably, you would QT the coral for a while after that and then dip it again maybe before it goes in the tank, but that can be a bit excessive. But generally speaking, if you dip your corals, it's going to kill off anything like that that's on it. And then they can go in the tank. Da, 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 da. I got a buddy that drops his pump like 100 foot. Okay, well that works. I don't think I would do it myself out of the Gulf, but people do crazier things. 4 part. That's what I use since I started using it. My Retiri Nim is huge, and my blue striped clown hair have spawned. Cool. I could see that for sure because elements and nutrients play a huge role in spawning and also anemone growth and coloration and all that stuff. So you might have just hit on something that is exactly right for that anemone and those clownfish to do what they need to be doing. It's that's definitely part of the game of reef keeping is finding out what works best for your system. I might run my tank with Coral Pro Salt and everything is perfect, but you try to switch your tank to Coral Pro Salt and it doesn't work out well for you because every ecosystem, every tank is different and they all need slightly different things. I hear something outside. Thank you for your help. Happy to do so, Gareth. Thank you for being here and hanging out with us. Let's see. So much excellent information. Just wondering, any thoughts on sandbed UV sweeper to help eliminate dinos? It works when you use it correctly. And it works if you have the type of dino flagellates that are benthic, which means they crawl around, not the ones that free swim. So if you have Ostreopsis that are going to come off the rocks and stuff and free swim, it's probably not going to work as well for them. But for Prorocentrum, the 2 Amphidinium species, and Coolea, Coolea kind of does a little bit of both, but mainly Prorocentrum and Amphidinium, the sweeper works excellent. You have to slow down more than they say. They say to like pick a spot, hold it for 15 seconds, move to the next spot. I was recently told that, and look, I haven't used one, so I'm not sure, but I trust the guy who told me this. He was leaving it in one spot for 60 seconds. And the spot's only like 6 inches by 2 inches. So you put it there, you do 60 seconds, you move it over 2 inches, you do 60 seconds, and you keep doing that around the entire tank. And he's got a 200 something gallon tank. It took him like 2.5 hours to sweep his entire sand bed. And you have to do it every single day for like 2 weeks. So it's definitely a good product. It definitely works if you take the time. My nose is itching. If you take the time to do it correctly, but do not expect miracles from it because it's a lot of work to use it correctly. But it does work. So what is your favorite underrated coral? Currently, mine is Leptostrea. So I like leptos. They're pretty cool. I'm not that big on encrusting corals all that much, like the Leptostreas. My favorite corals, and just underrated corals, are Blastomusa. They come in a ton of colors. They're really easy to take care of. They're not picky at all about water parameters. You can grow them in just about any saltwater aquarium, and they look great. And they also don't need really super high par lights either. I've got a Blasto in my main tank about the size of a baseball, and it's in like 100 par. So even a moderate light is going to allow it to color up and be big and fluffy and healthy. So that's one of my really kind of favorite sort of underrated ones. Yeah. Willie says the Duncan passing was almost a foregone conclusion, but at least 2 of the 3-headed frog spawn is happy. Cool. I don't recall exactly what you're talking about. So forgive me for that because good Lord, I talk to a lot of people every day. But at least, if the other ones are looking good, that's a sign and that things are moving in the right direction. We got.
He said earlier that he thought he lost something.
Oh, you said earlier that you thought you lost a Duncan. I got you. Well, Duncans can be finicky. A lot of people like to say that they're a super easy coral, which in most cases they are. I have one, big, huge one. It's probably in too much par because it's kind of pale, but it looks super happy. We'll do a tank tour in a little while, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But they're not that hard to take care of, but they can be finicky where they just sort of don't want to be right, It's just one of those things. But yeah, going to be making my own fish food soon, so that's a fun thing. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm just going to probably do what some of the other people have done before. And I'm going to need like silicone ice cube making trays for like little ice cubes to do that, like half-inch by half-inch cubes or something. So I'll probably make a video on it once I get comfortable with it. Other people have done it. Again, not reinventing the wheel here, but it would be good, to put that video out there for people who enjoy my type of content. The Duncan hasn't opened for about a month after I did too big of a water change. Yeah, swings can do that. If there is still, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Like skin and color, anything there on the skeleton, as long as it's not just a bare white skeleton, then I would just leave it alone. It might recover over time. But it definitely is going to depend on where your parameters are, how big that swing was. If you went from like 8 to 12 alkalinity, it's going to take a while for it to catch back up. The other way isn't so bad. When you go down in alkalinity, it's not so bad. But when you go up quickly, yeah, it tends to stress them out more. Are you going to be selling them the food that I make? Probably not. You get into all kinds of licensing restrictions and stuff with that kind of thing. So I really doubt it. And like I said, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. There are other companies out there who are already set up and already doing it, and probably can do it better than me, like Mermaid's Delight, I'm super tired, everybody. We've been working our butt off this week. By the way, the stream is going to have to end at 3:00 today. We have some family coming over. It was kind of unexpected. I'm not going to be able to go all the way to 4. But I wanted to at least get a couple of hours in here with you guys to hang out for a little while. But yeah, probably not going to sell them. I mean, if some friends local or whatever want them, maybe I'll do some frag swapping and stuff like that for some food. But who knows? You never know. Who knows? But probably not. What's funny about that, since we're on the topic, and it's not really super related to reef keeping, but it kind of is, because we're talking about making our own food, right? So in Louisiana, there is something that's called the cottage. It's called the cottage law, basically. So, and pretty much what it means is that you can cook food for humans in your home kitchen, and it doesn't have to be regulated. You can just make food and you can sell it for human consumption. You cannot make food for animals. So dog treats, cat treats, hamster treats, anything like that, without having a licensed, registered, inspected, professional kitchen. So like you can still do it in your home, but they have to come in and like inspect your kitchen, give you a registration and a license and whatnot to make animal treats. But you can make food for humans and sell it to them in a mason jar and they don't care. Pretty interesting stuff. We were thinking about making dog treats at one point because we were making them for our dog, and his name was Wheatley, and we were calling them Wheato Snacks because that's just an awesome name. And then we found out that we couldn't do it because it was going to take like thousands of dollars in licensing and stuff. But we had a website and everything, One Suave Dog, the whole 9 yards, But yeah, can't do that. But I could sell you a spaghetti dinner if I wanted to with no restrictions. Hope y'all doing great today. Had a question about your rockscape. What bonding agents did you use to build it? I'm getting away from epoxy this time. I hate the 2-part epoxy putty. I don't care for it. So I have a video on the channel. If you search the channel for Marco, you'll find it. The products that I use are a thick viscosity cyanoacrylate superglue gel. On Amazon, you can get like a 10-ounce bottle of it for like $10. And Bob Smith Industries Insta Set. Neither one of those things are on my Amazon product recommendations page on my website yet. They will be, but we got to get there first, and we're not there yet. But I just use, it's clear bottle with like a red label. It's just thick viscosity CA glue, and the Bob Smith Industries Insta Set, which by the way is the same people who make the stuff for BRS. They all they do is change the label. That's it. So don't pay $20 for a little bottle of Insta Set this big. Get a big bottle on Amazon for 10. And so that's what I use to lock the rocks together while I get ready to really lock the rocks together, right? If it's a small little rock structure going in a 10-gallon or something, then I'll probably just use the thick CA glue. But this rock structure behind me was very heavy and I wanted it to be very locked in together, right? So once I did the CA glue and that was good and set and solid and hard, I came back and on that same joint, all the way around the joint, I made a paste out of Marco 400 mortar, which you can Google that and you'll find it. It's pretty expensive for how much you get, but you can see in the video how I mixed it up, and I mix it up. It's got a consistency almost like Play-Doh. And then, you know, you put that on the rocks and smush it all down in the crack and stuff, and you give it 24 hours to dry. And you'll have to break the rock to get it apart. Once that mortar is set, you're not going to break the mortar. It is there forever. So that's what I use. It's the best thing that I have ever found. It takes a little longer. You got to go a little slower. But once your rock structure is built, it ain't coming apart. And like I said, I have a video on my channel that shows that whole process. Did you see Randy Holmes' video? I didn't quite get the whole phosphate precipitation, maybe a breakdown on that topic. I don't believe I saw that video. I'm not familiar with exactly what you're talking about, David. If you want to send me a DM or an email, logan@reefrookies.com, and share the link with me, I'll take a look at it. I appreciate that. James makes my own food. Amazon sells the half-inch trays I use. I wish I did the 1-inch ones. Interesting. Is that simply because you could just like pop one out and thaw it out instead of having to do 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that? You know, what's the thinking there about going with the 1-inch ones? Yes, Kimberly, you can take your nap an hour earlier. That's cool. In the process of upgrading my tank, says Rytech. Okay. I need to add more rock, but I was curious about aquascaping already wet cured rock. Do I just use the super glue and baking soda method, epoxy, or both? So wet rock is a little harder to deal with because you have to keep it wet. You can use that same stuff I was just talking about, the Marco 400. You can use that on wet rock too. But I would probably do the super glue thing. I would not use the Insta Set, but I mean, you could, because really all the Insta Set is I think it's just baking soda and RODI water. If I'm not terribly mistaken, you mix it up together. You can DIY the Insta Set yourself too. If you dig around on the internet, you can find the recipe. But yeah, you can still use that same stuff. I would probably use the super glue, and I probably would use some Insta Set as long as it wasn't immediately going into a tank with corals. Kind of lock them together and then use the Marco just to go around them. As long as you keep a spritzer bottle with salt water handy, and you know, every few minutes you spray the rock down and keep them wet, they'll stay alive. It's just more messy and it's harder to deal with, but you could definitely do it with the same method. Thoughts on medicated versus observation QT before adding new fish? I'm going to clip this. All right, so Jamie says, thoughts on medicated versus observation QT before adding new fish. And there's 2 ways that you can really go about this, right? So you can have a cycled QT or an uncycled one. And if you cycle the QT, you really can't medicate that one. So that would be an observation thing. You're just going to watch the fish, see how it goes. But that is never going to get rid of any of the pathogens that we don't want to take into our main display. All that does is reduce the stress on the fish. So when you do that, you have to couple that cycled quarantine along with medicated baths, right? So you take the fish out, you do a medicated bath in the medication of your choosing for whatever thing you think you might be treating for, and then you put them back in the QT. The alternative is an uncycled medicated QT where you run like a copper treatment or something for 30 days or whatever it is. Both ways are stressful on the fish. It's a toss-up which way is more stressful or less stressful, but some fish are more sensitive than others. So things like anthias and wrasses and stuff like that, I would do a cycled QT and a medicated bath only if I had to. And then for other fish, normal stuff that's, not as sensitive, I would probably just go ahead and do like a full medicated QT and be done with it. So anyway, I hope that helps. Oh, wait, I got to hit the boom. Okay. I forgot. Over on one of the other platforms, you can start a thing and then say what you got to say and then stop it and it'll clip it. But YouTube doesn't work like that. But anyway, I prefer running, if I get a new fish and I'm setting up my QT tank, I run it cycled for a bit just to make sure that the fish gets over the stress of all the moving and everything without the stress of being medicated, unless I see visible symptoms of something that I need to medicate for. So I'll run a cycled QT for a little while, and then I will take the rocks and the ceramic media bags or whatever I'm using to keep the tank cycled. I'll take that out and put in some PVC fittings and then bring the medication up slowly. Most of the medications need to be brought up slowly anyway, like copper. Copper is a poison, and it's poisonous to the fish as well. So if you just all of a sudden slam a bunch of copper in there, it's super stressful to the fish, and it could even make them sick. Yeah.
Wake up.
Busy week. It could even make them sick by doing that, or it could hurt them in other ways too. So you want to bring that medication up slowly over a few days. So, prime example, I'm quarantining a fish right now that we can't talk about, but I'm going to run just a cycled quarantine for 30 days on that fish. And then I'm going to remove my rocks and media, and I'm going to slowly bring the copper up over about 2 or 3 days up to the therapeutic range. I've got to get a freaking Hannah checker to do that too. I don't have one. But yeah, so anyway, I got to get one of those. But I'm going to slowly bring it up over 2 or 3 days, and then I'm going to keep that fish in that therapeutic range for 30 days. And then I'm going to slowly do water changes to bring it down at the end of the 30 days, bring it down about over 3 or 4 days, something like that, to be as least stressful on the fish as possible. And then the fish is going to go in the main display inside an acclimation box that I have to get. Baby, acclimation box.
Sorry.
Thank you. She was zoned out watching the squirrels. It's going to go hang in a hang-on acclimation box in the tank for at least a week. And that curbs aggression between the fish and the fish that already have territory, stuff like that. And it lets the new fish feed at the same time and the same smells and all as the other fish. It's just the best way to go. So yeah, gotta love the weird way they legislate stuff. Yeah. Blastos are great. Yep, I like them. Nice to hear the expertise and knowledge. Your thoughts on using Dr. Tim's waste away while dosing Nopox to reduce nutrients. So that's it's an interesting combination. So Dr. Tim's waste away, I think, nope. I was thinking of a different product. I would say that it would probably be okay, but I can't remember right offhand what is in waste away. But having said that, Nopox is a mixture of different alcohols that are just an organic carbon source that we put in the tank for bacterial growth. I don't know if waste away is additional bacteria, but I would caution you against carbon dosing and dosing bacteria at the same time, because you could create a situation where you end up with a bacterial bloom in the tank, and now you got a whole nother problem that you're having to deal with. So I would choose one or the other. If you want to try to reduce the nutrients, just stick to the carbon dosing. Or if you have a lot of detritus in the tank and you got sludge on the rocks and stuff like that, I would say go with the waste away. I would also say blow your rocks off like every day or every other day, then run coral snow in the tank after you've done that and skim wetter so it can draw that stuff out of the water. That's the better way to do that rather than using products. What kind of lights do you have on your tank? So let me pop the lid right quick, put the coffee down and make sure I don't forget that the coffee's in this chair. Okay. It's kind of sketchy. So these are the lights. You can kind of see them a little bit. I have what big name. They're made by Delua. It's called the X4 SPS Beast Mode Bundle. And it's got 4 of these fixtures right here, the X4s. Each one of these is a single X4. And then it's got 4 LED strips, 2 across the entire front and 2 across the entire back. I don't even have the strips on right now. And right now at this moment, the lights are only at about 60%. Very, very excellent. Very high-end lights. I had the opportunity to upgrade to these from the pop blooms that I was using, and I love these lights. Yeah, so they're super awesome lights, but they put out an absolute ton of par. If I turn all my lights on, LED strips and everything, and the LED strips are not adjustable, they're just on and off. But if I turn them on and I run the X4s at 100%, I can get 1,000 par right here at the top of my rocks. They are incredibly bright, but the coloration is super nice too. And one of the things that I like about them is I can share my profile on the Delua app. So if you have the X4s and you like the way my tank looks, the coloration and all that stuff, you can download my profile and run it on your tank if you want to. Or like I ran my tank with the same profile that Polo Reef is running on their 900 drop down for a little while because they're running the same lights. And it looked really cool, but I like to have my own. So I made my own profile. Sean is in the house from a cruise ship somewhere in the water. Nice to see you, buddy. Joe will be moving soon. Any tips on moving a 75-gallon without stressing everything out too much? You are going to stress everything out, even yourself. There's no way to do it otherwise. Everything's going to be stressed out. But having said that, yes, I have a video on my channel. There's way more stuff than I can tell you in one live stream. I have a video on my channel that talks all about moving a reef tank and tips and stuff. That video comes from an article that I wrote that it was in my old Facebook group. We need to probably move it to the new Facebook group. Maybe. I don't know. We did a reefing insight on it too.
We did.
Okay.
It's not the same as the other one we had.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
No, but we did on moving tanks.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's a video on my channel, and there's also a reefing insight blog on my website, reefrookies.com. You can get there from the home page of my YouTube channel. Or you could just type it in, reefrookies.com. There's, if you go to education under reefing insights, there's an article there about moving a reef tank. And so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to consider. So check that out, and see what you think. There's way more than I could get to in one. We could do an entire live stream just on that, which would be a good topic. But yeah, I've already made a lot of content about that. So save a little bit of time. Check that video out and check that reefing insight out. It's everything that I would say here is there. So thanks. How can you put fish in your display that do not handle copper? Like I want mandarin gobies, but I read they can't handle copper. So how can I know they don't have parasites? You have to research the individual fish to find out how you can treat that fish. So there is a way of treating fish for pathogens that involves no medication, but it involves more work on your part. And it's called the tank transfer method. So you have one tank, you set that tank up, you get the water up to salinity and temperature, and you put the fish in it with nothing else in the tank, not cycled or anything like that. You leave the fish in that tank for 72 hours. During that time, you set up another tank. You get it up, get it all the way set up. get the salinity to match the other tank, temperature match, and all that stuff. At the 72-hour mark, you drain the first one, move all the fish to the second one, and sterilize the first one. Then you set the first one back up. At the 72-hour mark, you move all the fish over, you drain the second one, you sterilize that one, and you set it back up. And you do this 4 or 5 times. And what that does, let's see, with everything but I don't think it works with Uranema. No, it doesn't. It'll work for ick and velvet. It won't work with flukes unless you also include a freshwater bath in between the moves. So as you're moving the fish over, you do a freshwater bath in the middle, and then you move it to the other tank, and it'll work for flukes. And it'll work for Brooklynella, I think. I would have to go back and read on Brooklynella as well. But anyway, it's called the tank transfer method. You can look it up. You can find all the information out about it. But that's a way to treat fish without medications. Unfortunately, some fish are very sensitive and they don't like that process either. Sometimes it's just really hard. You have to use other medicines at very low doses like chloroquine phosphate or fenbendazole and keep them in those low doses for a longer period of time, stuff like that. So it's not a perfect science. We have not perfected curing marine ornamental fish of all diseases before they go in the display, but we've come a long way, so there's a lot of stuff. James says the 1/2-inch ones are too small, fishing string and hang it in the tank. That's interesting. Pretty cool. Well, thanks for the information there. You can borrow my Hanna copper checker. I barely use it. Well, that saves me some money. I appreciate that, Jay. What do you think about a sump with a dedicated 1 micron mesh filter at the entrance and exit with nano to scrub nitrates and phosphates while actively growing food to feed corals and pods? Please don't take any offense to this because I don't mean it with any sort of negative connotation. That is a situation of just doing way too much. There's a 1 micron filter sock is going to become clogged within minutes of you putting it in the tank. There's just too much that's in our saltwater aquariums that is larger than 1 micron. And literally everything is going to get stuck. It's going to clog up both filter socks in a matter of minutes. There's no reason to run filter socks that fine. If you're having super high nitrate and phosphate issues, those issues are a result of something that we're putting into the tank. We have to import organics into the tank that can break down to become nitrate and phosphate. If we limit our input, then the resulting amount of available nitrate and phosphate is lower. So if you're trying to control nitrate and phosphate, there are much better ways to do it than trying to run 1 micron filter socks. There's so many other things. A good solid skimmer and some coral snow once a week might be all you need. I think it's great in theory, but I don't think it's going to be very good in practice. Even a 5 micron filter sock, which is 5 times bigger than a 1 micron, obviously, is going to fill up in just a couple of hours. There's no way you'd be able to effectively employ a 1 micron sock, at least theoretically in my brain. I don't think you're going to be able to do it. I've never tried. I've never even held a 1 micron sock in my hand because I've never had a need to filter anything that small. Jamie says copper power versus cupramine.
He had a follow-up.
Who did?
The one you were just talking about.
Okay.
The micron filter sock.
Yep.
Was just to keep the nanoplankton from getting swept into the tank.
So the 1 micron sock is to keep the plankton from getting into the tank.
Swept into the tank.
Yeah. I don't really see a need for you to prevent the phytoplankton from going into the display. Any of the species that we would use in reef keeping, whether it's Tetraselmis or Nanochloropsis or some of the other ones that I can't remember how you say, Isochrysis, I think is how you say that. All of those are beneficial for the entire reef, the whole reef. We don't just try to grow copepods in the refugium and just keep them there. We want them to go into the entire system through the whole thing. And having phytoplankton restricted to only one chamber is it's counterproductive. It's counterintuitive to what we actually want it to do in the tank. Corals feed on bacterial plankton and phytoplankton all the time. So if you're going to be adding phyto to the tank, you want it to be in the entire system. You don't want to restrict it to just one chamber. So unless I'm missing something, and it's possible that I am, I don't think that you need to go that far. I would say manage your input and your export, and just use the phyto in the tank, in the whole tank. Just let it go where it goes. Yeah. Saw another YouTuber claiming to only use copper power, but I already have cupramine at home. Also, what other prophylactic medications do you use? Copper power, cupramine, copper safe. The difference between them is that, all right, I'm gonna try to gather my thoughts here for a second, because I'm gonna make this a highlight too. Okay, let me get my button here. Oh, you can make highlights now.
I signed back in under mine.
Okay, that's fine. Never mind.
You haven't showed me how to do that, so.
It's no worries. No worries. Okay, so Jamie's talking about copper power versus cupramine versus the other ones and what the difference is. So the difference is whether it's a chelated copper or not. So cupramine is chelated, I believe. So maybe this won't be a highlight. One of them's chelated, one of them's not. I don't remember which is which. But the one that is, okay. Oh, wow, I am stumbling all over the place. Hang on a minute. I do research before I make my videos. This is all straight off the cuff out of my brain. So I don't remember if it's the chelated one or the non-chelated one that you cannot use with CChem Prime. I think it's the chelated copper that you can't use, because if you do, it creates a toxic, poisonous environment immediately, and it will kill all your fish. So it makes it difficult unless you're going to be only using water changes to manage ammonia. And cupramine, or cupramine, however you say it, whichever one it is, that's the one that you cannot use with Prime. So if you're going to use the cupramine, then you can't use the Prime, which means that you're going to have to manage the ammonia in your QT just with water changes only. I got there in the end. You okay?
Yeah,
Copper power you can use with Prime, because I believe it's the non-chelated one. And I'm sure you know what all that means because you're a nurse. But that's really the only difference. The other major difference is they all have different therapeutic levels. So like copper safe therapeutic level is 2.0. Copper power is 2.3 to 2.5. I don't remember which one cupramine is. It's also up there like 2.5. But you have to maintain that exact therapeutic level. So the only test kit on the market that we have that goes over 2 ppm is a Hannah checker. And they're like 65 or 70 bucks. So some people choose not to get one of those. Salifert makes a copper test kit as well. No, no. Can you top me off? I'm sorry, you just sat down. My bad. Salifert makes a copper test kit as well, but it only goes up to 2 ppm. So the only one that you can use if you have a Salifert test kit is copper safe. So those are the main differences. There's probably some very slight differences with how they work, whether they're the chelated or non-chelated type, and how safe one is for the fish or the other one. But that person who says that they only use copper power is probably because of the testing reasons or something. I don't know. They all work. It just, you have to follow the directions very explicitly. Willie forgot to turn the tank back on after a water change and feeding. Oh no. Well, I hope it hasn't been a really super long time since that happened. Let's see. Hamilton says, hey, from Dallas, what's going on, my friend? Dim Dollars in the house. Nice to see you back. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Bob says, I know you've commented on this before, but I didn't write it down. What is your recommendation for an adequate microscope? Bob, send me a DM on Facebook, and I'll get you the link. That way you can help me out on the back end. The one that I would recommend is the Amscope M150. It's a pretty good microscope. You can get one for about 120 bucks. But yeah, let me get you a link so that it helps me out and doesn't cost you anything. Too early to be yawning, says Dim Dollar. Yeah, you ain't kidding, but it's been a tough week. We've had a lot going on, a lot of physical stuff. What size of a sump should I put in a 150? Wesley Heath wants to know. So sump size is basically based on two things. You need a sump big enough that you can put all of the equipment that you want to house in your sump in it. And two, you also want enough space left, dead space at the top of the sump, so that when your return pump kicks off and everything drains back down into the sump, it doesn't overflow the sump. So for a 150, generally speaking, you could probably get it done with a 40-gallon sump, but I would recommend going with like a 60 or a 75-gallon. You're not going to have 60 or 75 gallons of water in it, but it's that size. So this is my 180 behind me. And I also have a 40-gallon refugium connected to it behind this wall on the other side. And I have a Trigger Systems 75-gallon sump. Now, it only holds about 45 gallons of water, maybe 40, because I run it only about half high. That way, when my return pumps kick off, I've got drain back from my 180 and from the 40 that are going down into the sump. I've got plenty of room, right? But I've run bigger tanks, not bigger than this. I've run big tanks on small sumps, I should say. I had a 125 for a while, and I was running it on a sump that I DIY'd out of a 20 long. And the only thing that I wanted in the sump was my heater and a refugium section and a skimmer section and a return. So I made the return really small. I was running a gravity-fed auto top-off, so it was auto-topping off constantly anytime the water level dropped, and I just didn't need that much space. It went to the absolute limit of the rim of that tank when it drained back and everything kicked off, but it did hold the water. So you can go, anywhere in those sizes are going to be fine. At 40, 60, 75, something like that. You just have to make sure that it's designed correctly to hold everything that you need to hold. So I hope that helps. I'm a little bit off my game today, I think. Forgot to buy coffee yesterday. Oh, man. You can get it delivered. 75 would be fine, Wesley. Absolutely. Your thoughts on running a skimmer all day and a UV running 24/7 as well? Thanks. So I never turn my skimmer off. It runs 24/7, 100% of the time, unless I'm cleaning it. That's the only time my skimmer ever gets turned off. Now, there are situations where you might have to turn your skimmer off for other reasons. If you're tracking your nutrients week to week, all of you are tracking your nutrients and water parameters week to week, right? Every week you check your tank, you write it down. You're doing that, right? Okay, good. So you track your parameters week to week, and you're noticing a decline in nitrates. Every week, they're down a little bit more than they were the week before. You can either import more nutrients, or you can turn the skimmer off, or maybe turn your filter roller off, or whatever it is that you have. You can turn that stuff off and export less. That way your nutrients begin to go either stabilize or begin to have a very slight increase, But generally speaking, I run my skimmer 24/7. But what we do with all of these tools that we use with our reef tanks is in the name of managing the nutrients and the elements. So every question that we ask ourselves, should I run my skimmer 24/7? You ask why. And then it gets back to, well, my nitrates are slowly going down, so I'm not sure if I should be taking out as much as I am. And there's the real answer. The real answer always comes after you ask the question, why? I'm going to clip that. That was really good. Bang.
Did you get Gage's question?
Gage? No, I didn't get a question from Gage.
It says, I have a 10-gallon QT tank. Should I replace 100% of the water when doing a water change or 50%?
So 10-gallon QT, I didn't even see Gage pop up in the chat.
Yeah.
That's weird. 10-gallon QT, you're going to do your water change based on how much ammonia is in the tank. And I'm going to get back to that UV question here in just a minute, so bear with me. So wherever the ammonia is at, that's what you base your water change on, right? So if your ammonia is at 0.1, do a 50%, cut it in half. If your ammonia is any higher than 0.1, do a 100%, get rid of the ammonia completely. If you're not running chelated copper, like we were talking about earlier, you can use prime to kind of stretch it out a little bit. But that's kind of how you want to do that. Again, why? Why do you want to do a water change in your QT tank? Well, because my ammonia is 0.25. Okay, good. Do 100%. You know, if you ask yourself the same question and the answer is my ammonia is only 0.05, then don't worry about it. You're good to go. You know, the why is always the thing. John Clark doesn't track his numbers week to week. Man, you and I have had this conversation before. Yeah, I didn't see anything from Gage. I apologize about that. Okay, so back to what is your name? Giller Mamatha? I don't know how to say that. Sorry. Anyway, UV running 24/7 as well. I only run my UV sterilizer if there's a need to run it for multiple reasons. Mine is huge. It's 4 foot long and the bulbs are like $100 a piece. And if you run it 24/7, you have to change the bulb every year without question. The bulb will still work. I mean, in the sense that it will still turn on, but it won't be functional anymore. So I don't want to have that recurring expense. So I only run my UV if there is a need for me to run my UV. Now, other people run them 24/7 and love it and have nothing against it. They change the bulbs, they spend the money, whatever. It really comes down to your personal preference. People have had success with reef tanks running UV and not running UV, and people have had success running them when they need to, like what I do. So if I see Ostreopsis dinoflagellates begin to show up, I kick my UV on. You know, if I see a fish get a couple of spots and makes me think that maybe ick is doing a thing in the tank, I'll kick my UV on. But otherwise, I don't run it 24/7. All right. How big of a realization are we talking? Wait a minute. How big of a realization are we talking when you buy an RODI system? Like, is it kind of nice to have, or I wish I invested sooner? Sage, that completely depends on how clean your tap water is. So like for me, in my instance, in my case where I live, my tap water, the TDS, the total dissolved solids, meaning everything in my tap water that has the ability to conduct electricity, like lead, iron, arsenic, whatever. My TDS is like 400, 450, sometimes 500. And the amount of chlorine and chloramine that they use in our water treatment facilities here is so high that sometimes my tap water comes out smelling like a swimming pool. And so for me, if I were to try to use tap water from my tap in my tank, it would kill all my corals without question. So for me, it's an absolute requirement. Like, I cannot run a reef tank at my house without a proper RODI unit, stripping all that stuff out, taking my TDS down to 0. For other people, it may not be as important. Prime example, the people who run, is it Tidal Gardens or Acro Gardens? It's Dong Zhao, Acro Gardens. His tap water, where he lives, where his coral farm facility is at, is basically perfect reef keeping water. There's nothing bad in it. And it has high levels of fluoride, manganese, and a couple of other of the trace elements that we actually dose to our tanks to make our corals look better, have more coloration, and be happier. It's just in his tap water, lucky dog. I honestly don't know why he doesn't bottle it and sell it. I don't have a clue why he doesn't do that. He could literally bottle his tap water, put Reef Gold on it, and sell it for $20 a bottle. He could, but maybe he's ethical and he doesn't think that that's a good idea. I don't know. I can't say I haven't spoken with him about it. I would love to speak with him about it. So if anybody knows Dong Zhao personally, let's get him on a live stream and we'll talk about water. He has spoke on it a couple of times on the Reef Bum podcast. And actually, I think he's working with Reef Bum now. Like they brought him onto the team. So he's part of the Reef Bum team now. So that's a pretty cool thing. Congratulations to him for that. I do a monthly water change on my 90 gallon. That's a good practice. Yep. If that's what you find works for you. Should you use UV light to slow down or stop algae from growing? No, UV light will not slow down or stop algae from growing on your rocks. It will help in the situation of an algae bloom where your water is actually turning green. Then you could use UV to help prevent that, or you could use UV to help clear it up. There's actually two different types of UV. There's a UV sterilizer, which is what we use to kill pathogens and stuff like that. And then there's a UV clarifier, which is what most freshwater people use to stop algae blooms in the water and whatnot. They're a little different. I think the clarifiers are lower wattage, higher flow or something like that. I don't remember exactly. They both kind of work for both situations, but it's not going to do anything for algae on the rocks, but it will help you if your water's turning green. Brandon says, my tap water on a simple 4-stage RODI turned half the resin canister golden brown, filling 5 gallons. Okay, so there's a couple of things that can cook the DI resin in your RODI filter. CO2 is one of those things. So especially for people who are on well water, right? We see this all the time with people who are on well water. It's very high in CO2, carbon dioxide, and it burns through DI resin super fast. So one of the things you can do is off-gas that water before it goes through the RODI. Water softeners, so like if you have a whole house water softener system, that can cook your DI super quick, so sometimes you have to bypass that. Super high chlorine and chloramines, not changing the carbon block part of your RODI often enough. But if you're saying that it went through half of it in 5 gallons, there's something in that water that's causing it to do that. It's probably CO2. There's a few other things that'll do it as well, but it's probably CO2. So we'll definitely take a look at that because that's not ideal. DI resin is expensive. They use a crap load of that stuff in our water here in Kentucky. If you're on city water, some people have wells, and that's basically natural spring water. Yeah, for sure. Ken Shoemake says RODI should be required gear for 99% of reefers. I would agree. Yeah, I don't know if I want to put a number on it, but I mean, it's neither here nor there. I get what you're saying. It's figure of speech. Yeah, I would agree. With what we know now about the benefits of RODI water. Now, don't use it in your freshwater tanks, in your planted freshwater with your snails and stuff like that. Use your tap water, dechlorinate it. It's going to be fine because you in that case, you would have to remineralize it. But yeah, in saltwater tanks, especially at the prices that RODI units are now, I mean, we spend more money on a single fish than we do on an RODI system. And which, by the way, I have a whole bunch of recommendations for RODI systems on my website. You can go there, reefrookies.com. And you can click on my Amazon product recommendations, file down RODI units, open that up. There's a bunch to choose from. And anything you buy from that recommendations list, I make a small commission on the back end because I'm an Amazon affiliate. It's a way that you can help support me and Reef Rookies and the channel and all of this stuff without spending any extra money. But just in case anybody wanted to know, there are ways to support where you can actually do so monetarily. You can become a website member if you want to and put in how much you want to do. Or actually, did we change it?
I do have tiers.
So there's
set up
tiers
on
set up.
on YouTube.
Yep.
And you get the same perks. They're
Yeah.
all listed on the website.
Everything's on the website.
Support the mission, and you'll see all the different ways that
Yeah.
you can support us.
So go to the website, click support the mission, and you'll see all the different ways that you can help support the mission that Reef Rookies has of respectful reef keeping and demystifying saltwater aquarium for everybody so we can all enjoy it more. You know what I mean? You're remineralizing RODI for saltwater as well by adding the salt, right? Yes, Kimberly, that is correct. Absolutely. So that's why we don't have to do the so-called remineralization in saltwater. In freshwater, if you run RODI, which some people do, especially with fish like discus and things that are more sensitive, right? You can use aquarium salt, not marine salt. That's a different thing. It's basically Epsom salt, but you can use that and you can just mix a little up and put it in the water, remineralize that water. There's other products you can get for it too. But yes, in saltwater, we are effectively remineralizing it by making it saltwater. What are your thoughts on a Kessel? Those are good lights. Kessel makes excellent lights. I have not ever played with the apps that go along with the Kessel lights, so I can't really say on that. But as far as like the quality, the build quality, and you know the light that you get, the spectrums and stuff like that, they're all really great. Some of the best reef keepers in the world use Kessels. Give me 1 second, guys. It's been an hour. I'm out of breath.
I was going to say that if you want to take a break, we still need to do the giveaway from the Facebook post.
What are we giving away this week?
Spot in one of our weekly Zoom chats.
Okay. So this week, the giveaway. We're doing a giveaway every Sunday now, in case you guys didn't catch that. So it's either going to be a product or a service or something like that, right? Because I do one-on-one consultations and stuff too. So what we started last week, every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. is a Zoom call. There's only 10 openings, and it is a paid thing. But if you're a paying YouTube channel member or website member, you get a code to join one of those free every month. Anyway, I'm off track here. This week, we are giving away one free spot for someone to come to our Zoom meeting on Wednesday night and hang out with us. Last Wednesday was super cool. We had 10 people in there. We talked reef keeping stuff for 2 hours, answered a bunch of people's questions. Jamie was there. Hal was there. Sean was there. Tim says, pick me, pick me. It is randomized. We're not picking people out of a hat. It's randomized. Well, we are kind of picking them out of a digital hat, but yeah. But yeah, so this week, that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to give that away here in just a few minutes. You have the way that you get yourself into the runnings for the giveaways is by going to the website, going all the way to the bottom and putting your email address in at the spot at the bottom. It doesn't cost anything, but you have to put your email in there. We're not going to send you a bunch of crap. I promise. It's not about that, right? Oh yeah, Kimberly was in the chat too. We all had a great time. So I'm going to take a bit of a break and we're going to do the giveaway. Oh, so how many people are in it this week?
62. This week this was chosen from people who helped push the post in the Facebook.
Oh, my bad. This week we had announced on the What's Up Wednesday post on the Facebook group, anybody who commented under that to help push that post, those are the people that are included in this week's giveaway. Hey, so let me grab the phone and we'll come over here.
All right.
And so here's the list.
62 people.
Yep.
And let me do this spin.
We'll do the spinny thing. See, we got 62. And it's going to be sometime today. Number 35. Okay, so we'll go over here. Number
Lindsay
35 is
McIntosh.
Lindsay McIntosh. I don't think Lindsay's in the chat with us today, but she is sometimes, and she is an active member of the group. So Lindsay McIntosh is going to get a code to join us on one of our Wednesday Zoom chats. I'll be right back on camera. Everybody just hang on. So yeah, that's going to be super cool, super fun. So yay for that. Okie doke. Now we're back. Okay, Sean's got to run. Happy to have you here for a little while with us, my friend. Thank you so much for stopping by. Cool. Now back to reef keeping topics. We talked about a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, congrats, Lindsay. Thank you so much for helping drive that post. So there's a couple different ways. I just mentioned them on how you can get entered into our giveaways. Product will be from the email list because there's more people in that list and stuff like that. Some of the other stuff we'll do, the people who comment on the What's Up Wednesday post, but we're going to flip back and forth because I know some people don't use Facebook, and that's fine. It'd be cool if you joined the group though.
I was gonna say next week we will definitely do one for a spot in that weekly chat from the email list on the website. So
Okay.
if anybody is not
Yeah.
subscribed on the website,
Yeah.
what they do is scroll to the bottom and put in their email address. Those will be the ones that I pull for the draw.
Okay, so next week we're going to do another drawing for another Zoom chat spot, but it's going to be from the email list on the website. So make sure you go and sign up for that. What TDS meter do you recommend? I just have a cheap one. I just use one on Amazon, $20-$30, something like that. They work in a they're not complicated machines is what I'm trying to get out of my mouth here. All they do is measure electrical conductivity. So they measure for things in the water that can conduct electricity, right? Super simple, 2 little metal probes in the water. If any electricity is passed, it measures how much and gives you a number. So don't spend a whole super ton of money on a TDS meter. It just needs to be decent, really. I use one on Amazon that says TDS across the front. It's blue. You'll see it.
You missed a few questions.
I missed some questions?
Yeah.
Oh, let me go back and make sure I answer them. Well, let's see. I see Hal and Kimberly talking.
It's above that.
Above that,
Did you
okay.
answer the question about the lights, the Kessel?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. Manuel's question.
Yeah, and then you had that one. I couldn't remember. if you-
Yeah, I talked about the Kessel lights for a
Yeah,
bit.
one of them.
So Manuel says, what distance do you leave between frags? I have a bunch of LPS, a hammer, a torch. I want to get more color and contrast, but I'm already out of room. So usually I try to leave at least like 4 to maybe 6 inches between frags. It really depends on what corals it is. So like mushrooms can touch, zoas can touch, pallies can touch. I don't mix zoas and pallies together like on the same rock because the pallies are going to end up taking them over. Hammers and torches, I try to make sure what region they're from. So if you get Australian and you mix them in with Indo-Pacific, sometimes they don't like each other. But if you get all Australian or all Indos and you put them together, they generally do okay, right? So it really depends. And then as far as like SPS, like acroporas and montiporas and seriatopora and stylopora and digitata, well, that's montipora. But anyway, you get where I'm going at. It really just depends on how aggressive that particular one is. It's a thing that we need a reference for. And I happen to know somebody who has a side project that wants to build out that reference for people to have, but it isn't built out yet. But usually 4 to 6 inches gets the job done. Yeah, Hal left a good thing. Fabio will kill each other. Absolutely. That was one of the things that we went pretty in depth in talking about on our last Zoom chat on Wednesdays. Yep. Yep. Answered that. Okay, Reefer 2.0 says, I used Caribsea Dry Special Grade. I rinsed it multiple times to what I thought was good enough. Tank still cloudy. Been 2, maybe 3 months. Will it clear out or should I replace it? Okay, at 2 to 3 months, it's not cloudy from the sand anymore unless you don't have any type of mechanical filtration. What is more likely happening is a bacterial bloom. So I would recommend turning the lights off for 3 to 4 days. If you don't have any coral, turn them off for a week. Just leave them off for a solid week and then turn them back on, check your nutrients and water parameters and do a water change. Because after 2 or 3 months, if you have any sort of filtration on that tank at all, that dust should be gone. It should have been removed by the filtration. It shouldn't be a thing anymore. So I think that you're probably having a bacterial bloom. That's actually something that I have not done a video on yet. I haven't done bacterial bloom or algae blooms, either one. She's writing that down. My chief organizational officer.
Always spell algae wrong.
Algae.
I know that. I always do
Algae.
it wrong first, and then I do it right.
We actually say it wrong. It's not supposed to be pronounced algae. It's pronounced algae. David says, other than feeding and adding more fish or corals, what would be the best way to raise nitrates? Mine are 0. I've been dosing ammonium bicarbonate for 3 weeks now, no results. Okay, David, ammonia dosing takes a while. I've done that myself, and it took about a month and a half or 8 weeks or so before I started to see an increase in nitrates from ammonia dosing. You have to ramp it up slowly over time, right? But the problem is corals prefer to use ammonia as a food source. So they suck it up before it completely gets converted into nitrate. Sorry, I was reading and it was throwing my brain off. Let me stop reading and answer your question. I would recommend dosing nitrate straight if you want to just get that number up, right? You can do Neo Nitro from Brightwell, or you can make your own out of either sodium nitrate or potassium nitrate. Be careful with the potassium nitrate because it can increase your potassium past the point of where you want it to be if you have to dose a bunch. But yeah, that's going to be the best way to do that. Having said that, a lot of people are having really good results keeping ultra low nutrient systems, but ammonia dosing for corals food, air quotes, so the only way to do it besides adding more fish and feeding more is by putting something in the tank that's either going to break down and eventually become nitrates like the ammonia, or putting nitrate in directly like Neo Nitro or a DIY supplement. I have a video on DIY supplements. You can find it by searching my channel for Saving Money and you'll find that video. It is also a Reefing Insight blog on the website under the education tab. You can go down, you can find that same information there if you prefer reading rather than watching videos. Reefer 2.0 got a roller mat 500. Okay, if you're using a roller mat and the tank is still cloudy, it's 100% a bacterial bloom. There's no way that dust is going to make it through that fleece on that roller mat. So you have a bacterial bloom. If you don't have any corals, do the week-long blackout like I was saying. After that, be prepared to do a water change, and you should be good to go after that. Jamie is looking at a Bubble Magus Curve 7 protein skimmer and a Reef Breeders Prism ATO. Thoughts? I don't have any experience with either one of those products personally, but Bubble Magus and Reef Breeders both make excellent products. I would not be upset going with either one of those. The Bubble Magus is a really good skimmer. I don't think you'd be pleased with it. There's a bunch of other ones that you could also look at too. If you want a list of them, check out my product recommendation list, my Amazon one on my website. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, those are good things. If that's what you've decided on and what fits in your space, you'd be happy. Willie says more like chief content officer.
No, I don't have anything to do with content.
She said no. She said no. She don't have anything to do with content. She is the back end, you guys. Kimberly said, I was going to ask how you pronounce algae. Well, I say algae. When I was in college, I said algae because if I didn't say algae, then my professors got really upset. But yeah, I say algae because it's just, I don't know. That's how we say it here. Yesterday, I added a rusty orange spiny gorgonian to my tank, and the polyps are falling off, exposing the skeleton. Is this normal or is it dying? Can I do anything to try and save it? That gorgonian, if I remember correctly, is a non-photosynthetic one, and it is going to require you to dose that tank with phytoplankton or powdered coral foods multiple times per day. Gorgonians can be difficult. There are photosynthetic ones that are a little easier because they make some of their food through photosynthesis, but a lot of them are not. If the skin is falling off, it's probably got a bacterial infection or it's getting too much flow. And given that I am not up to date on dipping procedures for gorgonians, I don't want to tell you to do anything that would be wrong. So I would definitely look into it as much as you can. Try to, post in the group, talk to some people who know more than I do about keeping gorgonians. It's not something I've ever been interested in, although I'm interested in it now because I have a refugium macroalgae planted tank in the other room, but I haven't dug into it yet. But that's not normal. It is dying, but I am uncertain to tell you on what to do. I am stumbling all over my words today. I'm exhausted. I'm leaving a 3 to 4 inch gap between the frags. I have no idea where they came from. Oh, I got you. You don't know where the corals came from. Yeah, 3 to 4 inches should be sufficient in most cases. Just keep an eye on them. If you see two that are next to each other not having a good time, maybe separate those and see how it goes. Where can I find a great step-by-step process of how to cycle a brand new tank with base dry rock? There's so many videos and posts that are just all over the place. There are no clear instructions. That's because there's 101 different ways that you can do it. I have several videos on my channel about how to cycle reef tanks. I'm trying to remember if any of them are specifically about cycling with dry rock. It's been a while since I did a video on the nitrogen cycle, so it's hard for me to remember. What you're looking for, it really comes down to two things. Who am I talking to here? Hunter. So it comes down to two things, Hunter. You're going to have to choose between doing a fish in nitrogen cycle where you're using the fish to cycle the tank, which I would not recommend doing. I never recommend that for anybody ever. Or doing a fish-less nitrogen cycle. Now, a fish-less nitrogen cycle, I'm going to just go ahead and give you the information you need. Do a fishless nitrogen cycle, okay? That's going to be the only way that you can prevent harming an animal. So to do that, you're going to need two things. You're going to need an ammonia source, which is ammonium chloride. Dr. Timms makes some ammonium chloride, or you can get Fritz fishless fuel, or you can get Brightwell quick cycle. All of those are ammonium product. There's another one too. The Tropic, Jamie, what's the one you had? It's Tropic Marin. Tropic Marin? Anyway, you need an ammonia source. You can also use a piece of dead shrimp. You throw it in there. You could use fish food. People call that ghost feeding. Takes forever. I don't recommend it. I would get Dr. Timms ammonium chloride. Get the tank set up. Get everything in it. Get it salty. Get it up to temperature. And then dose the ammonium chloride into the tank to achieve 2 ppm ammonia, 2.0 ppm ammonia. And then begin tracking your nitrogen cycle. After you get it up to 2 ppm, then you're going to add some beneficial nitrifying bacteria. My favorite two are Fritz Turbo Start 900 and Microbe Lift Night Out 2. I actually use them in conjunction with one another. I add the same amount of both of them, right? And once you've done that, you start tracking your nitrogen cycle, you track the ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates. And since the ammonia is already up, you're not going to see a spike and drop. It's already up here. So it's going to begin falling down. The nitrites will begin going up and they will spike, plateau, and then they will begin falling down. Once they begin coming down, then you can start checking your nitrates and they're going to do the same thing. They're going to go up, but they're going to stay up. You might see the nitrate fall a little bit as the nitrite falls, because the nitrite will give you a false positive on the nitrate test. So, fun fact for anybody who doesn't know, nitrate tests convert the nitrate back into nitrite first and then give you the measurement. That's why nitrite, the presence of nitrite, gives you a false positive on the nitrate test kit. That's why it does that. So yeah, anyway, dose the ammonia up to 2 ppm, add your beneficial bacteria of your choosing, whatever it is, and then begin tracking it. Set your temperature at 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And once the ammonia comes all the way down to 0, dose it back up to 1 ppm again. And if that clears back to 0 within 24 hours, you're ready to add your first fish. I hope that helps you out, Hunter. If you need more information, I have several videos on my channel that talk about the nitrogen cycle and how it works and all that stuff. And yeah, if it's still super confusing to you, reach out to me. I do one-on-one consultations. I can help get you through the first 6 months of your reef tank. Make sure it's all done correctly. So anyway, I hope that helps. With bacteria or algae bloom, can you see the particles or is it just cloudy? Because I can actually, if they are thick enough, yeah, you probably could see the particles. Especially with algae blooms. Bacteria are a little smaller than algae, so maybe not, but it's definitely possible. Some of it may not be bacteria. There's always a little bit of some junk floating around in a saltwater aquarium too. If I look really closely at my water in my tank, I can see stuff floating around in there too. I would do a little more room for torches. They can get sweepy. They can get sweepy, especially the Indo ones. How does that ammonia dosing work? I can't find anything on that subject anywhere as of yet. That is because there's not that much information out there to find on that particular topic just yet. But one of the people that you're going to want to follow, and hopefully there will be some information coming out about it soonish. I don't know if he's working on anything, but if I know the guy, like I think I know the guy, there probably is. Salem Clemens runs Novel Aquatics. You can find his YouTube channel and you can find him on Facebook and other places. He has just released a product. Well, he released a whole line of products, but this particular one is called nitrous. Yeah, like the laughing gas for cars. It makes cars go real fast, like nitrous oxide, but that's not what the product is. It's called that. But the product is a blend of ammonium and urea. And it's meant for dosing tanks, either A, to get them through the nitrogen cycle, or B, to do ammonium dosing to the tank after the nitrogen cycle as a way of feeding coral-heavy aquariums. And basically, the way that it works is we dose ammonia or ammonia and urea to the tank to feed our corals rather than running high nitrate and phosphate numbers. And the high is a big air quotes. In range, nitrate and phosphate numbers, right? So we all know that nitrate and phosphate mean algae, right? The higher they go, the more potential there is in the water to have algae problems. So for a long time, people, and some people still do, ran what's called an ultra low nutrient system, a UNLS or ULN, ultra low nutrient, right? So they would keep nitrate at like 1 or less than 1 and phosphate at like 0.01 or something like that, very low. The problem with that is it's not super healthy for the system to do that. It basically stops any algae growth that you're going to have in the system. which I would argue is actually a good thing to have a little bit. But the corals could also suffer because there's not enough nutrients in the water for them to do what they need to do. So you can dose ammonium to the tank, ammonium bicarbonate in a mixture that you can mix up, or you can dose ammonia and urea. Sorry, there's background noise. We're getting ready for people to come over to the house. And basically, it replaces the nitrate and the phosphate that the corals consume for nutrient consumption. When corals consume, well, it doesn't replace phosphate, nitrate. When corals consume nitrate, they have to break it down backwards back into ammonia before it's really used for their biological processes anyway. And so you're kind of skirting the rules here by giving them the thing that they're going to eventually break it down to anyway. And so you can run a much lower nutrient system, but still have healthy corals. That being said, it's still really in its infancy in the hobby. There's only a few, like, really sort of what I would call expert reef keepers who have been doing it. And it hasn't been going really long enough for us to have sort of a full laid out plan of what it does long term in our tanks to run it like that. But it is a viable way of doing it. Hal says Sandy is the backbone of the machine.
No, I'm not. Our mods are.
She says, no, she's not. Our moderators are. Danny Boy says, how many fish can I add in total for a 40-gallon? Well, that depends completely on the fish that you're talking about. So, like, if you were to do chromies, you could have 20 or 30 of them in there if you wanted to. If you were talking about blacktip reef sharks, well, the number is 0. And I'm being a little bit silly. But it does depend on the fish. So I don't like the whole 1 inch of fish per gallon thing. I don't like that because different fish have different mannerisms and whatnot. You want to balance it off, balance things out. So if you put one fish in that's sort of 4 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, but that fish really moves and swims a lot, right? You probably want to offset that with a fish that doesn't move and swim a lot. So pick one that is a perching type fish, like a hawkfish. They only swim around when they're trying to eat. The rest of the time, they're just sitting there doing nothing. They're still really cool fish, though. But I don't want to really give you a number of like how many fish you could put in. It's going to be based on many factors, mostly what your biome in your aquarium is going to be able to support. So if you have a lot of rocks, you might could add more fish. But if you have a very minimalist rockscape, you're going to have less fish, just like me. So like, this is my rock structure in my 180. This is the only pile of rocks that I have. These rocks are all connected to one another, so there's not that many like hidey holes in this rock structure here for fish. So consequently, I don't have a high bio load of fish in this tank because there's not that many hiding spots. So there's just a ton of variables. I would just say start, with only 1 or 2 fish, go slow, and when you have 10 fish in different zones and different species and stuff in the tank, I'd probably hold off for a while and, see how it goes. CJ's Aquariums said, what's the final thoughts on nitrobiotic? You a believer yet? That's, I actually have a video that's going to be coming out about my experience with that. I think it's going to drop tomorrow. Just a little short, little 5-minute thing. I would say that yes, I believe that it is an excellent product. I had good results with it, similar results to what you had with your sort of experiment that you did with it. I had Ostreopsis dinoflagellates in this tank that's right next to me, my 22-gallon, and I dosed the nitrobiotic in it like 3 times a week for a month. And it lessened the dinos, but it didn't get rid of them completely. And there was some manual cleaning in there too, but I didn't run UV or do anything else. After the month, I turned the lights off and I left them off for a week. And when I came back from reef retreat, I turned them back on, no more dinoflagellates. Now, is that from the blackout or is that from the tropic marin, the nitrobiotic? I can't be sure because I introduced 2 variables. But I think that the nitrobiotic probably started bolstering the bacterial biome well enough that when I did the blackout, the dinos kind of faded away, and then the other bacteria became the dominant organism, and I think that it worked out. So yeah, I think it's a great product. I know that somebody is trying to do a study on it to find out what the exact bacterial species are in it. So I'm super excited to read about that when that happens. It ain't me. But yeah, I even told people to go check out your video in my video because credit where it's due. It's where I heard it from. So I told them to go check it out, man. That's going to happen tomorrow. I have a newer tank, 72 gallon, 1.826. Okay, everything was going well until it wasn't. Yeah, it happens that way sometimes, unfortunately. Seems like I'm getting bubble algae. What causes it? And besides emerald crabs, I now have 4. What can I do? What can I get or do to help? So, Rhonda, I want to make sure that what you're seeing is actually bubble algae. Bubble algae is, and I'm not being weird, not being silly or demeaning or anything, but bubble algae is going to be green bubbles. There are other things that could be in your tank that could be creating bubbles, but it isn't bubble algae. Sometimes cyanobacteria can do that. It'll be like a matte looking, like a slime almost with bubbles in it. Dinoflagellates, like we were just talking about, those bugs, they can create like a brown kind of sludge in the tank or like brown stringy stuff with white bubbles. If the bubbles are like clear or white or anything like that, that's not bubble algae. Bubble algae, the actual species, Ammonia, is they're green. If that is what you have, if it is the green bubbles, and I'm just saying this because I can't see your tank right now. If it is the bubble algae, Pithos, Pithos crabs seem to be better at clearing out bubble algae than emerald crabs do. Female emerald crabs, which you can distinguish by the plate underneath their belly, it's a different shape than the males. The female emerald crabs tend to go after the bubble algae more than the males do. That's just what I've heard from other people over time. I've never studied emerald crabs. Be an interesting thing to study though. Anyway, back on topic. So yeah, Pithos crabs. If your tank is big enough, sometimes a fox-faced rabbitfish will eat bubble algae. Where's he at? I have a fox face in my tank, and I do not have bubble algae. Maybe correlation is not causation. I don't know. But yeah, so those are some things to look at. You can also manually remove it. You'll read a lot on the internet about don't pop the bubble algae. It'll spread like wildfire. That only applies if the bubble algae that you pop is in the process of sexual reproduction at that moment. They're not always. Most of the time, they're not, in fact. But it could happen. But I would combat that by saying the first thing that a crab is going to do is pop the damn thing. So, oops, I said a word I'm not supposed to, I think. But it'll be okay. But anyway, yeah, if that's what you got going on, manual removal, just get something sharp like a dental pick with a hook on it and just kind of dig underneath the foot of them. They'll pop off and you can just take them out with a net. Jamie says, Bubble Magus Curve 7 says up to 250 gallons. The smaller one, Curve 5, run up to 140. Not much price difference, but would the 250 be too much skimmer for my 120? So, Jamie, it kind of depends on what your end goal bioload looks like for you in that tank. So, with your 120, if your plan, if you're in your head, if what you want out of your tank is heavily loaded with fish, like you want a large bio load of fish, then get the bigger skimmer. If you want just a few fish, but you want specific ones, then you could probably go with the smaller skimmer and it would be okay. You want to match it to the bio load. And what I have found over the years, having had dozens of skimmers at this point, is most of them are overrated. So like that Bubble Magus Curve 7 says that it can do up to 250 gallons. What they mean is 250 gallons with a light bio load. Some of them even say that. They'll have different tiers, right? and they put the biggest number on the top to make it look awesome. But really, to be honest, either one would be okay. But if you're planning on going a little heavier on your fish load, get the bigger one. If you're planning on, only having a few fish, get the smaller one. La 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 la. Let's see what else we got here. Frog spawns for the most part can totally touch. Yep, I have hammers touching. Me too. Nitrobiotic, says Jamie. Yeah. I used Fritz Turbo Start, and Carib Sea Life Rock was done in 5 days. Interesting, because Carib Sea Life Rock doesn't have anything on it that would help with that. Fritz Turbo Start's good stuff, though. What do you? I guess you meant, do you know anything about the Vibria Power Meter? I do not. I have not tested it. I haven't talked to anybody who's tested it in any kind of sort of valid way or anything, so I can't help you with that one. I have tested the Dano Plus, and I like it. I would recommend the Dano Plus. Yeah. Let's see. I answered that already. If adding Tampa Bay live rock, do you still dose ammonia with the bacteria? So if you're doing a live rock tank, like, everything is completely different, right? Well, it's not completely different, but everything is going to happen completely different. If you're doing live rock, then you don't really need to add bacteria from a bottle, because what you're going to be getting on that live rock is orders of magnitude better than anything that we can put into a bottle and make shelf stable. So if I do a live rock tank, the only thing that I'm doing is verifying that the cycle is good, right? So you set the tank up, you get it salty, you get it up to temperature, you put your live rock in, your live sand too, if you're going to use it. I let the tank run for 24 hours just to clear the detritus and stuff out of the water. And then I test the ammonia. If there is none, then I use ammonium chloride. I take it up to only 1 ppm and see if it clears within 24 hours. If it does, fish go in next day. If it doesn't, then I give it 24 hours to kind of chill and settle, wait for the ammonia to go away, and try it again. And every time you do the test, you're adding a little bit of ammonia, so the bacteria have something to feed on, something to do, and they grow a little faster. It takes, I think it's 26 to 30 hours, something like that, for Nitrobacter. I think it's Nitrobacter is the first one to convert ammonia. All right, hang on. Let me rephrase that. There's 2 bacteria that are responsible for the nitrogen cycle: Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter. I can't remember, I never can, which one does the ammonia to nitrite, and then the other one does nitrite to nitrate. But either way, it doesn't matter with what I'm about to say. The first one, it takes roughly 24 to 36 hours, I believe, for that one to double in population. The second one that does nitrite to nitrate takes 40 hours to double in population. That's why we often see with the nitrogen cycle that the ammonia drops out quicker than the nitrite does, because that other bacteria takes twice as long to double in population. So anyway, that's just a little thing I wanted to throw out there for you. Hunter says, thanks, a lot simpler than I thought. Recently subscribed, been loving the videos. Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. I just want to help as many people as I can, 10 to 15, depending on, oh, you're talking to somebody else. How to lower silicate in my aquarium without PO4. There are some products that will help you remove silicates, but the main thing that you want to be doing is limiting the import of silicate into the tank, which is one of the reasons that we use an RODI filtration system to clean our water before it ever gets into the tank. Silicates can get in there for a number of reasons. Some of the foods that we add may have them, but usually it's due to adding tap water. Every single tank, when we set it up, is going to have some silicates in it. That's why our tanks go through an ugly phase. The diatoms feed on the silicates, and they bloom in population, and then eventually they consume them all, as long as we're not adding any, and they begin to die off, and then the tank clears up. So if you already have silicate in your tank, you can just let the diatoms eat them, and some cleaners eat them too. Some snails and stuff will end up consuming some too, and dinoflagellates eat them as well, but we don't want those guys. and just let them burn off, and they'll go away in the end. But if you're having a perpetual silicate problem, then you're probably going to have to install an RODI filter. If you already have an RODI, you might have to add a mixed bed DI resin, like a silica buster, to get rid of all the silicates completely. I have that problem here at my house. I have to have a fifth stage. How often do you recommend me clean my canister filter in my Reef tank? Once a week, unless you have it set up as a cryptic zone. So if you have your canister filter just packed full of bacteria media, like Seachem Matrix or something like that, and you're running it as a cryptic denitrification filter, then you don't clean it. You just let it do its thing. But if you're running it with filter pads and filter foams and this thing and that and carbon and media, you got to clean it weekly. Take it apart, clean it out every week. It's green bubbles and they're hard to pull from the rock. Okay, Rhonda. Well, if they're hard to get off of the rocks, that doesn't really sound like bubble algae either. Bubble algae is usually pretty easy to get it off of the rock. Rhonda, why don't you, if you're in the Facebook group, post a picture of what you're seeing and tag me. If you're not in the Facebook group, you should be. It's called Reef Rookies with Logan. It's a private group. Or you can send me an email at logan@reefrookies.com. And we can take a look and just make sure that what you're seeing is what I think you're seeing. You can always turn the bigger one down. You cannot turn the smaller one up. Talking about the skimmers to Jamie, yes, you're absolutely right. How many, I think you meant Viper Spectra lights, would you recommend for a 125-gallon reef tank? 3. I would recommend 1 for every 2 foot of tank. So 2 foot tank, or excuse me, 2 foot tank, you run 1, 4 foot 2, 6 foot 3, 8 foot 4, so on like that. I came across your channel 3 weeks ago because I wanted to step into the field of saltwater keeping. What would you recommend me to do? I have a 55-gallon tank. Complex mindset. So that is a really very broad question. People have written actual books on like all the intricacies of saltwater keeping. What I would recommend for you to do first is to go to my channel, my YouTube channel, go to my playlists, and there's a playlist in there called Saltwater Beginners Start Here. There's a bunch of videos in there about all kinds of stuff that you're going to have to know about. And that is a really, really, really good place for you to start. So I would recommend starting there. Also join my Facebook group. What do you think about Milwaukee Salinity Digital Refractometer? Thanks for everything you do. So it's actually not a refractometer, but that's just a terminology thing. It is a salinity measuring device. You know, refractometers use an optical refraction, for lack of a better term. There's a prism, that's the word I'm looking for, inside a refractometer, and Milwaukee doesn't have that. It uses electricity, basically, I think, to measure it. But yeah, they're good devices. I went off on a tangent there. It's a good device. A lot of people use them. As long as you calibrate it properly, they're pretty solid. Mr. Meanie, Mr. Meanie Head says, new reefer here. I have a Fluval Evo 13.5. Want to do a pair of clownfish. What do you think a good third fish would be? In a 13.5, you're gonna have to keep it to smaller fish. A cardinal fish would be okay, like a bang-eye cardinal or a pajama cardinal. That would be fine. You could even probably do a pair if you got a male-female pair of those, and they might even breed in there. Other small fish. Well, I'm having a brain block on fish today. You could do neon shark nose goby. That'd be okay. You could maybe do a citron goby or a clown goby. Those would be okay. Some of the blennies would be all right. I'm trying to remember the actual names of the fish, but I'm having a hard time with fish today. What is a blenny? I'm trying to, a lineatus blenny. That would be a good one. Or some people call them a lined blenny. That'd be okay. You could, I don't know. I'm having a tough time remembering fish today. A royal grama. would be another good choice. Stay away from pseudochromies, though. You don't want to put one of those in there. Willie says, I guess you missed my question earlier. Oh, I may have. Sorry about that. I apologize. I think it's time to replace my RODI canisters. I have a BRS 4-stage water saver. Which one of your recommended units on the site? So are you saying that you need to actually replace the filter itself, like the physical component? Or are you just talking about the filters inside the canisters, Willie? It's all French to me. RODI is totally new to me. Okay. BRS does sell replacement filters that go inside the units, right? I have on my list Aquatic Life RODI replacement filters. You could go with those, and that would be okay. Just make sure that you get the one that's at least 100 gallons per day for the RO membrane. So yeah, but quickly, I'll explain RODI, right? So it stands for reverse osmosis deionization. So most of them are 4-stage. They'll have a pre-sediment filter that just takes out big junk. And then they will have a carbon block that takes out chlorine and chloramines and some of the toxins and things like that. Then it goes up through the RO membrane, which is reverse osmosis, and that takes out even more stuff. And then the water goes through the deionization resin, which takes out even more stuff and the silicates and stuff like that. So 4 stages. Once the water goes through all of that, it should be coming out after that with 0 TDS. If it's not, then you might have to add additional stages of either the RO membrane or the DI resins or stuff like that. It really just depends on exactly how bad your tap water is going in. Let's see. Oh, by the way, everybody, I've only got about 15 minutes left on this one. We have to stop early today because we have some family coming over for dinner. So yeah, we got about 15 more minutes on this one. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. This is the 15-minute speed run, and then we're going to have to get out of here. I have an all-in-one 25-gallon tank, C-Chem matrix and sponge, nothing else in the back sump. I have got 0.25 phosphate. How to reduce it? You could, hang on, I don't want to make sure I don't lose it. So you're going to have to run probably some sort, wow, man, I'm really tripping over my words today. Some form of phosphate reduction media. There's a bunch of them out there, Phosguard, Phosban, Roaphos, Fauna Marin has one called P0.04. It's supposed to pull your phosphates out, but not let it go any lower than 0.04. Matter of fact, I might run some of that. But anyway, there's a lot of different ones out there that you can get. I use Roaphos a lot. There is another product by Brightwell called Phosphate E. It is lanthanum chloride. It will work very well to take phosphates out of your system, but it's extremely powerful, and you want to make sure that you're using it correctly. Good centerpiece fish for a 125 gallon. I would not keep a whole, well, it also depends if it's a 4-foot or a 6-foot 125 gallon. Most standard 125s are 6-foot. If it's a 6-foot tank, a centerpiece for that, I would probably get either a powder blue or a powder brown tang as like the main dude. They would do okay in a 6-foot 125. I wouldn't put one in a 4-foot one. So complex mindset. One thing that you want to make sure that you're doing, was I talking to you? Oh no, I wasn't talking to you about the phosphate. I was talking to you. You were asking me about something else. I don't remember what. Hang on there. So yeah, centerpiece fish for a 125, powder blue, powder brown tang, yellow tang would be okay too. I probably would not put a sailfin tang in a 125. They kind of need a little bit more space than that when they get matured. You could do a, what are they called? It's a fox face. I'm sorry, everybody. It's been a week. I'm really tired. What a magnificent fox face. You could do one of those, and that would be good. If you really took care about what other things were in the tank, you could put a marine beta in there. Now, you had to be careful with small shrimps and stuff because might eat it, but that's a super cool fish. They look really neat. Follow-up question by Mr. Meanie Head says, you mentioned a pair of bang eye. Is 4 fish okay in a 13.5? Yes, 4 fish is okay, and bang eye get a little bit big, right? But they don't swim a lot. They prefer just to kind of chill, and they'll just sort of swim around in a certain little area. They'll pick a corner of the tank that's like their favorite place. So even in a 13.5, 2 clowns and 2 bang eyes would be okay, but that would be the most that I would put in there. Willie says the insides. I got you. The insides of the RODI. So yeah, you could go with those ones that I mentioned on my drop down on my Amazon product recommendations list on my website. I have under aquatic life, I think it says replacement filters. You could go with those. Those are the ones that I use. Now for the DI part, I think the aquatic life ones that I have on there come with a DI resin already packed into a canister. So that would be the better way to go. You can repack the DI canisters yourself, DIY style, just to get the resin and repack them, but you have to do it correctly. What saltwater question do you wish to be asked one day? I almost lost my stream. It said reconnecting. What saltwater question do you wish to be asked one day, but we never ask you? Do you want, the question would be, do you want me to give you $1 million for your reef tank? And the answer would be yes. No, for real though,
Good question.
you guys all have great questions. Yeah, I don't really think that there's any, like there's no question that comes to mind that that I wish someone would ask, but no one ever has. Because if you guys don't ask the question, usually I have expanded on a topic or a question to the point where I've answered most of the other ones too. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing immediately comes to mind. Let's see. Partner liking my marine tank, and I got him a 24K gold torch, but light not giving the pop he liked from the shop. I have Red Sea Reef LED 50, blue 70, white 65, as Weeping Willow didn't like 80 and 10. Okay, so the pop from the corals is going to come from basically 2 things. Making sure your minerals and your elements and your trace elements and stuff like that are in good levels and where they need to be, and that your pH is also good. All of those things play a role in coloration. Make sure your phosphate's not too high, stuff like that. And the lighting. The lighting plays a huge role. And different lighting is going to make corals look different. So for a 24K gold, if the lighting at the shop, let's just say they were using something like Radeon G6s, it's going to look different in your tank under your Red Sea Reef LED. So if you want it to look the way that it looked at the shop, you're going to have to match their lighting and their trace elements and their elements and how they're keeping their tanks. Because in your tank, it's going to look a little bit different. I have a Australian gold torch in my tank, and it should be more gold than it is. It still has the gold in it, but the gold isn't super high because I don't run a lot of white light, and where it's at in the tank, it's not getting hammered with a lot of par. I need to raise it in the tank higher up so it's getting more par. Thanks again for your hospitality and support. I appreciate that. You're very welcome. Your thoughts on using water peroxide on the skimmer airline, and when is the best time of day to get your water from the tank for the test? I don't know what water peroxide is. Maybe you meant hydrogen peroxide, and I'm not sure why you would run it on the skimmer airline. So if you could clarify that, that would help. Best time to test the tank is whenever is going to be convenient for you, to be honest. Just realize that when your lights have just come on in the morning, your pH is going to be at its lowest. And when they're about to go off in the evening, your pH is going to be at its highest, because your pH does a sine wave all day or all the time, every day. Highest at peak lighting, lowest when the lights have been off, and it goes up and down like that. So just keep that in mind. What can I change to without the weeping willow being compromised again? That is a very difficult question to answer, righty, without knowing like the whole situation around your tank. One of the challenges of a mixed reef is keeping everything happy. I generally don't recommend lighting adjustments as much as I recommend coral placement. So if a coral is getting too much light, move it down. If it's not getting enough light, move it up, rather than turning the lights up and down all the time. You need to set your lighting with a par meter, and I have a video on how to do that on my channel. You can literally search the channel for how to set your lights or something like that, and you'll find it. Top of the rocks need to be 250, max 300 par maybe. But it always depends on what corals you're keeping too. Acropora tanks, you might want 400 or 450 at the top of your rocks. But you need to set the lights, get them set how they look good to you, and have the correct amount of par at the top of your rocks, and then move your corals where they need to be to get them the proper amount of light, instead of always adjusting your lights up and down. That's going to be the better way to go. All right, have a good day, Mr. Meanie Head. Thank you for stopping by. Your YouTube videos have been helping me a ton, but quick question. I've got a cycling 40-gallon cube with ammonia and nitrite of 0.25. Nitrate has dropped from 40 to 5 ppm over the past few days. That's good. When you have the presence of nitrite, nitrate will be falsely elevated. So that's what you're seeing. Just keep doing what you're doing. The cycle is going to finish up here in another few days to a week, something like that, and then begin sort of trying to establish your baseline. And Kimberly was laughing at something for some reason, probably me. Yeah. How can I stop buying corals? Fill up your tank and then just quit. Yeah, that's when you add another tank, and then you have multiple tank syndrome. Another great live stream. Logan and Ms. B, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Tim. Thank you so much. I'm trying to get to the end of the questions. All right, so after Danny Boy, after Josh, please don't ask any more questions, because I don't want to not get to you. Let's see. My friend has a 4-foot tank, LPS, trying to add SPS, but never successful. The tank parameters are perfect and stable, but why? I think you meant SPS not survived. So saying that the tank parameters are perfect doesn't tell me anything. I need to know the exact numbers. Having said that, LPS and SPS like different things. So what is essentially perfect for LPS is not perfect for SPS, and vice versa. So that, again, that's a challenge in having a mixed reef. However, it can be done. If SPS are being added to the tank and they're not surviving, something isn't perfect. Something is off. So it's really hard for me to say what, but have your friend or you and your friend, somebody, come into the Facebook group, Reef Rookies with Logan. It's a private group. Answer both questions and agree to the group rules, and we will accept you into the group. And then post your tank, pictures, how the tank's set up, water parameters, and all that stuff, and we'll try to help you out. When you find out, please tell me I had a reef tank and now I have a frag tank with fish. Oh, says Hal. Late to the party. Yeah, Camaro, we're actually going to have to stop a little early today, too. We've got some family coming over. I apologize. I need to calibrate my refractometer. I do not have any calibration solution. Can I use anything else to calibrate it? Okay. Technically, no. Untechnically, you could use RODI water to calibrate it to 0, but that is the wrong way to do it. It will get you close, but it won't get you correct. There is also a way to DIY your own calibration solution. I would tell you to look up Randy Holmes Farley DIY refractometer calibration solution. Look all of that up. Same thing, all in one go. And you'll begin finding some information about how to DIY your own. It's not as easy as it sounds, but most people who are capable of reef keeping are capable of doing it. So check that out. It's not that hard, to be honest. I'm blowing it out of the water a little bit. You just have to make sure you got the right kind of salt. You don't use marine salt to do it. Okay, should I put reef lights in a more white color or a more blue color during the day? Danny, that is completely up to you. I have a video on my channel that is called Coral Lighting 101, and that will give you a lot of those answers that you're looking for between the blue and white spectrums. JJ says, hey, I'm on your Facebook group. Hope you're well. Thank you very much. Let's see. Josh says, how can I use Instant Ocean Purple Bucket and start keeping a few LPS and softies as a beginner? Don't use Instant Ocean Purple. It's not meant for keeping corals. You're going to want to switch to a salt that is more appropriate for keeping corals. I don't like to recommend Instant Ocean salt, but they have one called Reef Crystals, which is, all right, Hal, take it easy, man, which is more of a reef keeping salt than the purple bag, which is really a fish only salt. Turbo Powered Civic wanted to thanks for the help in getting rid of the algae when adding the additional cleanup crew. Awesome. Happy you got what you were looking for. Let me give you guys the blurb real quick. My name is Logan. I run Reef Rookies. If you've never been here before, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we do this every Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have a website, reefrookies.com. You can find all of the information about everything that we do on the website. I offer one-on-one consultations. We have a weekly Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time Zoom meeting. There's only 10 spots and they are paid. So you got to pay to play to get into that one. But it's super cool, 2 hours. And it's more one-on-one personal type stuff, but not as much as a consultation. We also have a Facebook group, Reef Rookies with Logan private group. You can join that. It doesn't cost you anything to be there. You do have to remain respectful though, or you won't be there long. What else? We do weekly giveaways, and where we choose the winners for the giveaways is in two places. Either a comment under our What's Up Wednesday post on the Facebook group, or you have to be signed up through your email at the bottom of our website, which doesn't cost you anything. And no, we're not going to send you a bunch of spam emails. Make sure you're in there. You can directly support the channel by going to the Support the Mission button on the website. And really, it's more than the channel at this point. You can support the business, Reef Rookies, and all the things that we're doing. If you would so choose, with a one-time donation or a recurring monthly subscription. A website membership is detailed exactly the same way. You get exactly the same things as a YouTube channel membership. Same tiers, same money, same everything, except YouTube takes 30%. So if you want to do it on my website, I keep that 30%. It's amazing. So thank you so much for everybody who has done any of those things or all of them, or if you simply don't want to support in any other way than watching the videos, that's awesome too. And I appreciate it so much. But I'm going to go now because we have some family coming over. Oh, Gwen just got here. Gwen, we're closing out the stream because we've got family coming over. But 1 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time every Sunday, we're here doing this thing, usually until 4, but today I got to go early. Brother, I want a help. Well, I have to go right now, but jump into my Facebook group. You can find it from my website, reefrookies.com, and you can get help on the Facebook group. Anyway, I got to go. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Goodbye for today. Boop. Boop.